I just finished reading the entire Sati series and Weyward, and I felt like it was immediately time for a girl talk. Hello and welcome back to the Looking Glass World. My name is Aradhana Matthews, and today we're doing another episode of Girl Talk where we look at feminist literature and see what we can learn from there. So today we're taking two very different genres of books. The first is mythological retellings, which is the Sati series, this series of 5. So we have, let me tell you, Ahalya is number 1. These are all characters from Hindu mythology, Kunti. Then we have Draupadi, then we have Mandodari, and then we have Tara as the last one. So each of these 5 women are very different, and the author very beautifully explores their stories from very unique perspective. The second book that I read was Weyward. That is very, very different, not mythological at all, but sort of based in historical fiction in the sense that it follows the stories of 3 women of the same bloodline, and all 3 have a connection to being a witch, so sort of magical realism there. The first woman in this series is being tried as a witch in the age of like the witch trials and all of that. The second woman is living in World War II's era and struggling to deal with sort of the gender dynamics that exist there. And the third woman is modern, living in today's day and age, but she's also dealing with repression in a very, very specific way. So now we get into the lessons that we've learned from these 2 entities, 1 series, 1 book. The first lesson we have from these 2 entities has to do with knowledge. Now, we know the saying, knowledge is power, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance also makes you easy to control. If you don't know who you are, your history, where you come from, it's very easy to make you believe that you are something else that works in someone else's favor. So for example, this is very real. We don't know anything about many powerful women that existed in Indian history, and as a result it's very easy to paint a picture of women being supremely domestic if you wanted to. Not saying that that's the case, don't come for me, but you know that it happens in certain places where women are supposed to be like this in the household, XYZ, but that may not be the case and we just don't know. So in the case of Weyward, this lack of knowledge was perpetuated consciously by the men in the era of the World War II protagonist and the modern protagonist. And because they don't know about their history and the power that they have, the last 2 women take a lot of time to figure out that they are stronger and more capable than they realize, and to actually break out of this hold that the men in their lives have over them. Oh, also, you'll see this a lot in the film Lapata Ladies. I don't know if you've seen it. I saw it, loved it. It's a very nice film. But you see exactly what I mean when you say ignorance makes you easy to control. The woman who gets lost, the bride, doesn't know the name of her own village, does not know or will not say the name of her husband, doesn't know anything, but thinks she is very capable because she has been taught all of the necessary skills that a woman needs, which is basically your domestic life. She meets another woman along the way who kind of helps her realize that she is living in the dark. And all of these structures that exist, they make you feel like, oh, you're being a good girl, you're well raised and all of that, while taking away your agency and the power that you have over yourself, forget other people. So it's very important for us to know where we come from, the people who came before us, the history, and understand and go into open eyes with the society that we live in and recognize when power is being taken from us. Easier said than done, but a very important lesson to remember. The second lesson that we learn from these 2 is that power attracts hatred. So power in any form, whether it's magical or whatever, but just simply being a capable, intelligent human being that is above average levels will instantly attract jealousy and hatred from those who are less capable and are made to feel insecure by your presence. So a very clear example of that is in Ahalya, where it's something as simple as being confident in her own sexuality and not being ashamed of it, living in her own body without that sense of shame that women were supposed to feel, makes her husband very, very threatened, to the point where she is turned into a stone for doing nothing but being herself. And I'm not even talking about power. This is just a woman who is living her own life and is unconsciously not conforming to rules that women are all universally supposed to, I believe, have innately in them, this sort of bashfulness about their bodies and their sexuality, which Ahalya does not have. And the consequences of that are a clear reflection of the insecurity of the men around her. In Weyward, it is more obvious. It's the power of these witches. But then again, this book doesn't go all out like magic Avada Kedavra kind of stuff. This is witches in a more historical, like conventional sense. So if you read the Gospel of the Witches, that kind of tells you the essence of it, which is essentially nature, a connection to nature and all things that are natural. So I don't see what is so threatening about that. And the witches here have that kind of connection, and they're able to use things from nature in a way that other people can't. But that usually translates to being able to make medicines for other people, having a certain sense of protection using natural resources, a connection to animals. But they only become dangerous because the people around them are so insecure and therefore try to attack them. Then they must use and find that power within themselves to defend, just to be able to live their lives. Now the question is, how do we tackle this? Because even in today's day and age, when a woman shines too brightly, you will see the world converge and try to pull her down in any way possible. Usually it's slut shaming or body shaming, something to do with very, very, very superficial things, but very standard playbook that you will see. And a classic example is all these like female celebrities that you see. They all seem to hit a certain peak and then fall because suddenly everyone loves to hate them. Anne Hathaway is a great example. Why does everyone hate her? What did she do? She may say some things like, which celebrity is not somewhat tone deaf because they live in a very different reality, doesn't make her a villain or a horrible person. I just don't know. Yet everybody was hating on Anne Hathaway, nobody likes her, and now slowly she's kind of climbing back in. Same thing happened with Jamila Jamil, although for different reasons, where she became very vocal about, you know, the way that society is with women, the concept of body positivity, about conversations around your body and taking ownership of those things. Again, everybody loved to hate on her. Even at a micro level in your own lives, you will suddenly see people who shine a little bit too brightly becoming the target of bullying in some way or the other. Now, what do we do about it? I honestly don't know, but I'm taking a guess from these two books, which is, number one, you're not going to lower yourself to other people's level because that's not going to change the world. The second thing is you fortify yourself, because there is no point being brilliant knowing that people are going to come for you if you do not have the means to protect yourself. So get stronger. It is so, so, so important for other people to know that they can't mess with you. And if they do, it's going to be very painful as an experience for them. Now the third, I think I have to pull out my notebook for this one because it is such a large concept that it's hard to filter down into something so concise and remember all the points I wrote here. But essentially, it's that female sexuality is an incredibly powerful thing. And personally, I feel like that is the core of where the fear is coming from. And when I say sexuality, it doesn't just mean about like sex and the body. But there's a book that I talked about in a previous video called Think and Grow Rich, where the author Napoleon Hill refers to your sexuality as the power and influence you have over other people. It's the source of your magnetism, your charisma, your influence. So it's not just about the sex, but it's a force that comes from you. And the power that these women have, even in the Sati series and in Weyward, is this kind of very strong sexuality that instantly makes other people scared because it's a threat, because it is so much more powerful than they are. So what do? They try to control it. They trap it, they keep it in the house. You do not go out, you do not talk to other people, you do not make friends and allies, and you do not learn about yourself and the power that you have, because I will control everything that you do. Is a running theme in Indian mythology, you know, modern literature, modern society. It's a problem. Now, I come back again to Lapata Ladies because there is another dialogue that was said, which is that women, you know, why do men behave like this towards women? The answer being that the character says that because women can have babies, can raise babies, can do everything themselves, if they actually spent a minute to think about it, you don't really need the men. And that's what makes the men so scared. So they do all of this business with the women. Now, this is the dialogue from a movie. It's not necessarily what I believe in, but there is for sure truth to it. But that's it. Those are essentially very interesting topics of conversation that we learned from the Sati series and Weyward, and how they affect us in the real world. I hope this was interesting to listen to. I don't think I have concrete answers. None of us do yet. If we figured it out, then the patriarchy would be over. But such is the case, that we have to live with each other and try to understand what's going on and how we can coexist without being at war. We're all part of the same species. We're all humans at the end of the day. No one person is evil and the other person is good. But there are challenges that we do face, and hopefully the stories that we read can give us the tools to tackle them. But I hope you found this interesting. With that, I'm going to stop. If you want more book recommendations, you can follow me on Instagram at The Looking Glass World. But in the meantime, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.